Hey everybody, it says we are live and the connection is excellent. I've got my microphone turned up. I hope it's not too sensitive, so you might want to adjust your volume. All right, welcome. Today is another video lesson on fast and easy gifts that you can whip together really fast and give to somebody. And so let me show you what we're working on today. It's the little wallet. And so I'm going to show you how to make the little wallet pattern without having to print anything out. And let's see who is out there. I see Robin. Hi, Robin's Quilt Basket. Sewing and quilting for 47 years. I bet you started when you were like born, right? Hi, everybody. I see Michelle. I see M. Miller. Welcome, everybody. So we've got a lot of people that are jumping on. Okay, so let's get started and let me show you what we've got. If you're new, my name is Yvonne and this is the Jelly Roll Club. If you will like and subscribe the channel, you'll get to chat with us and you'll get to send me messages. And so, all right, let's get started. Let me show you what we're working on. So today is the Happy Little Wallet Day. So this is my little groovy wallet, reminiscent of the 1970s, right, with these little owls. And it has some spots in here for little cards. So I have a template for this that was posted in the chat and it was also on the website. So let me show you where to find this. So the groovy little wallet, and let me share my desktop so you can see. Make this really big here. So the first thing that you need to see is that groovy wallet. All right, so if you go to my website, and you see the little tab that says quick and easy gifts, I'm going to be adding more stuff to that. And so I have the gnome pillow, which I started yesterday. Several people messaged me and said they wanted an outline for the pieces. So I took the time and I created a line drawing for you using my stuff. So if you have not downloaded that, you can grab the line drawing of the gnome if that's easier for you to trace and make your pieces. What else can you find there? There's a supply and handout link for all the stuff we're doing. The groovy little wallet has a handout that looks like this. And it says 2 fat quarters, half a yard of 20-inch fusible interfacing, such as Pellon SF101, which is what I use, or you can use 911FF, and that's just a featherweight fusible interfacing. If you have a snap and snap setter, that's awesome. If you don't, then I'm going to show you how to get around that. You definitely need a big needle for this project. So if you have a 9014, please, super important, do a 9014. Quilting pins, if you have them, they're helpful, or clips. Pinking shears, nice to have, but they're optional. You definitely need a chopstick and a turning tool, okay? Then there's a template that you were supposed to print out, but if you did not print out your template, don't panic. I will show you how to create a template in case your printer is acting up. Don't run out there and buy ink. I'm going to show you how to make that. The other thing that I wanted you to look at is everything else has already been posted. So the tiny little stockings, that has a video link, and I have the handout for the snowman. So if you want to go ahead and work ahead and download those little mini stockings, I have the templates ready to go for those who know how to sew those already. And for the little snow guys, snow people, I have the handouts and the little outline drawings ready to go. So I've been a busy bee this weekend. All right, but without any further delay, let me just switch really quick so you can see what's going on, and let me show you what I've got. All right, so the first thing that we have right here is Groovy Little Wallet number 1. And let me show you what you need. To make Groovy Wallet number 1, you need a piece of fabric that is at least 14.5 inches by 6 inches. So if you're going to make Groovy Little Wallet 1, you need 14.5 inches by 6, and that will be cut on the fold. So this right here, it says place on the fold of the fabric. And you need one for the outside fabric and one for the lining fabric. You also need 2 pieces cut on the fold of interfacing. And I'm going to show you how to do that and take a shortcut to reduce your cutting. And that's all the bits that you need for this wallet. Now we're also going to make a little baby wallet. And so this little baby wallet can actually fit inside the big wallet if you want a secondary little wallet to slide in there. And that holds little gift cards. So like if you're giving people like Monkey Joe's wild cards, or you have your Walt Disney cards, or maybe you want the Me Fun card to go in there. But you can put little gift cards in this one, and you can actually give those to people as well. So if you don't have any questions, you can put the questions in the chat. I will try to stop and answer them. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let me show you what we need. So I always use marking tools for this. You can use any kind of marking tool. You can use a Sharpie, you can use a pencil, you can use a colored pencil, you can use water-soluble pencils in white if you have dark fabric. But you just need something to mark with. If you don't have a piece of fabric that is 14 inches, so this is 14 inches long by 6.5 inches tall, guess what you can do? You can build your own fabric using all of your bits. And that's what I did for the little sample. So this is my Frankenstein fabric I used for this guy. And so you can see it has a jelly roll strip on this end. And so I just chopped him off, and this is what I did with him. I cut this chunk of fabric here, and he is just built out of some Frankenstein fabric. So don't be afraid to use all of those little bits that you have left over and build yourself a big ugly piece of Frankenstein fabric. And look, when I say Frankenstein fabric, I mean this is atrocious. The seam allowances are all different sizes, it doesn't matter, and I made a piece of fabric that was big enough to do what I wanted to do out of scraps. So don't waste anything and use it for that. If you want to use a heavier weight fabric, you can skip the interfacing. So if you find some fabric like this is a nice heavy duck fabric. And so if you want to use this, then you don't have to interface it. But if you're using quilting cotton, then you are going to want to use interfacing. So this is a great use for all those fun fabrics. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to remove my mat because I don't want to warp it. And I'm going to put my wool pressing pad. I'm going to use my old one, not my pretty one, because I'm going to be doing some messy stuff with glue. And so the first thing that I want to do is I definitely want to spritz this with a little bit of water because I do want a tiny bit of steam. When you fuse interfacing, you definitely want a little bit of steam, but I don't want to put steam in my iron. So I'm going to spritz this with water. Just like that. I'm going to heat up my iron. I'm going to let that sit for a minute. Then I'm going to measure to make sure that I'm using just the fabric I need, not too much, not too little. So I'm going to take my tape measure, and I'm at 15 right here, and I'm just going to snip with the scissor. You don't even have to be super exact. I'm just going to snip that with a scissor and save as much of that fabric as I can. All right. You can fussy cut your fabric if you know that you're using a directional fabric or you have something like an owl. I lined up this one so that the little owl was on the flap. Doesn't always work out that way, but I wanted that little owl in the front. All right, so now that I have that, I'm going to take and I'm going to go ahead and interface it. I'm not going to wait until I cut out all the pieces to interface it because this just saves me a step. And so this has little bumps on it, and this has a smooth side on this side. So I want the smooth side down and bumpy side up. I've got slightly damp fabric, and I'm going to lay this down with that glue side up because I don't want to accidentally press it onto my wool mat. You can always put something underneath to cover it, or you can use a silicone pad. I like parchment paper, but anything works to protect your mat. So just put a little silicone mat on there, and I'm going to press right on top of my silicone mat, just like this. I'm going to start right here in the center. I'm not going to the edge, not yet, because I want to make sure that I'm not getting glue on my iron. The last thing I want to do is ruin my nice iron. And so I'm going to press that once, and I'm going to trim this off. This is the excess. And guess what I can use this little one for? My baby wallet. So I'm going to save that over here to the side. All right, now I'm going to flip this over. And now that I have my silicone mat underneath, now I can press all the way out to the edges. So I just heated my iron again, and now I'm going to go out and make sure that I've pressed all the way out to the outer edges. Try not to get bubbles, because if you put bubbles in your interfacing, it makes bubbles on your fabric. All right. So now that I have that done, I'm ready to trim. And so I'm going to put my pattern on here, and I'm going to trim this by folding it in half. And there's a little bit of selvage, so I'm going to make sure that I'm not incorporating that selvage. And then I'm paying attention to the direction of my owl. If I do it this way, my owls are upside down, so I want it this way because I want my owls to be facing up. So feel free to put that pattern any way you want to. And so this is how my pattern's going to go. And if I want to, I can just trim around that, mark it really quick. I have a silver metallic Sharpie because it shows up well, and I'm just going to give little dots all the way around. I'm not even going to cut it with that template in place. And there I have it. Okay, but what if you don't have a printed copy of this? Well, in order for you to make your own template, the only thing that you need to do is you need to take a piece of paper like this, and you're going to draw these dimensions. And so what I did is I did a 2.5 inch strip that was 6.5 inches tall, and I rounded the corner. So this is 2.5 inches tall by 6.5 inches. And to that, I attached a rectangle that was 4.5 inches across and 3 3/4 inches down. And then I rounded the corner. And that is what I need to make this template right here. So if you don't have this template, this will work, and you can make your own template. So this is what you need right here if you don't have it, okay? Like I said, I played with this a long time, and so this is 6 inches tall, and then this is 7 1/4 because that gives you 14.5 inches. So just so you have that, then this is 2.5 inches, this is 3 3/4 and 4.5, and then you just draw the lines. And so that will get you the template that you need, okay? All right, so now that I have one side, I'm gonna do the other. So I have side one. Now I'm gonna pick out my fabric for the inside. And for the inside, I've decided that I wanna pair up the owls with either this little French vanilla cappuccino, or maybe I wanna do this green. I haven't decided. Maybe I'll just do this green, and I'll save this for something else. So this piece here is large enough, so now I'm going to interface it because it's kind of thin. It's a quilting cotton. So I'm going to do the same thing I did to the other one. I'm just going to mist it with a little bit of water on one side. Smooth that out. And I'm going to interface with some of that fusible interfacing. I have to check that the bumpy side touches the wrong side of my fabric. So ugly side to bumpy side. And I want to make sure I'm doing that so I'm not gluing it the wrong way and making a mess of my mat and my board. All right, so just a little water, no starch. This is unstarched fabric that's been washed. So I'm just getting that in and steaming it well. Oh, I'm so glad you guys have these fun conversations online. You know, get in that chat and get to know other people and where they're from. This is the Jelly Roll Club. This is where we make friends and we make fun things. All right, so now that I have that, I can trim that little excess off because I don't want it hanging out and getting glue anywhere when I start pressing and messing with this. So I've moved it out of the way. Okay, so now I have one lining fabric and I have one outer fabric, and they've both been interfaced. And so now they're nice and thick. And now I can just fold these in half, just like this. And I've got it already outlined. I actually don't want to waste fabric, so I'm going to slide it over. And you see where I've got it marked? I'm just going to pin it together with a couple of pins where I'm not going to be cutting, like this. And then pin it down here. And I'm putting the pins far away from where I'm working. And then I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to lay my template on here to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. And I need to slide that back ever so slightly. And if it gets a little bit big, don't panic. It'll be fine. All right, so there it is. I've got it lined up. I'm going to take these pins and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pin through all of those layers. Keep it from moving. And I'm going to pin this through all of those layers. And by doing it like this, you just save yourself a massive amount of time. Make sure you have some really good sharp fabric scissors for this step. And you're just going to cut. I'm going to cut the line away because I drew it on the outside of my template, okay? Now this wallet is going to be big enough for you to hold an ID or a driver's license, if you drive, a couple of cards, and maybe even some money. And if you wanted to, you could even make a little neck holder for it, or a little wrist sling so that you could wear it around your wrist or around your neck. So if you really wanted to wear this around your wrist like this, like a wristlet, or you wanted to wear it around your neck, like this. So let's say that you're in a place, let me just lower this so you can see. If you're in a place where you want to, you can actually sew a string around here and wear it around your neck if you really wanted to, so you could tuck it in your shirt. I don't know, it's up to you. This little wallet can go in your big purse, it can go in your coat pocket, or you can put it someplace else if you want to. Either way it works. All right, so now that I have this, easy peasy. Don't waste this. I am sure I will figure out what to do with that somehow. I don't know. Now you have what you need. You have pretty side is the next step. You're going to just sew both of these together. And if you notice on here, it says add a 1/2 inch seam allowance to this template. And that doesn't mean add it to the outside. You're adding it to the inside. Is starch the reason my interfacing doesn't always want to stick correctly? Yes. This fabric is unwashed and unstarched, and I only use water. If you use starchy fabric, your interfacing will not want to stick. And so that's why it's not starched. And so now I'm going to lay these together, and of course they fit. And I'm going to be sewing a 1/2 inch away all the way around. And so that's why I said add a 1/2 inch. Normally when you're quilting, you're doing a 1/4 inch, but today you're doing a 1/2 inch. And so a 1/2 inch, if you want to visualize it, you can just take your ruler. And a 1/2 inch looks like this. So you may want to put little marks. If you're not used to sewing with a 1/2 inch, you can just take a ruler and mark some little marks for yourself, a few registration marks like this if you want to. You know what I'm saying? Just lay your little ruler and give yourself some lines, because you may not be used to sewing with such a big seam allowance. And so that can be different. And so that's a 1/2 inch there. And so I'm just going to give myself a few little marks just so that I know where I'm going when I'm turning that curve, because the curves can be kind of iffy. Same here. I'm just going to give myself some little marks, maybe down here in this corner where I'm turning a 1/2 inch this way so I know where I'm going, like that. So I know where to turn that corner. And so I'm just going to go ahead and put the rest of my dots. I can eyeball that 1/2 inch, and it doesn't have to be super exact, but that's how it goes. And so you're going to give yourself that big fat 1/2 inch all the way around, and you're going to leave this part open most of the way. So you're going to start sewing here, right below this curve, and then you're going to stop sewing here right below this curve. So this is your start and your stop, and let me show you what that looks like. Yes, you could put little feminine pads inside here, so this would be cute if you had little feminine pads or panty liners. They could also be put in there. And so if you were giving those to like a woman's shelter, those would be a cute way to give those for the holidays. All right, now on my machine, let me show you what I did. So let me see if my sewing machine camera is working. I have placed my walking foot on my machine, and my machine also has a wide walking foot. So this walking foot has a nice wide seam. This edge of my walking foot is my 1/4 inch, right? But the bed of my machine shows me where my 1/2 inch is. And so I'm gonna kind of use that as a guide. And I'm using a walking foot because I don't want my fabric to slip on me, okay? So I hope this doesn't make a big clackety sound, but I'm gonna put a couple of good pins in here, big ones, just to hold everything together and to keep it from shifting as I turn. Remember, pretty sides together. So you got pretty side to pretty side, and there we go. Let me see if I don't bump this camera. All right, so let me move this out of the way. And I'm gonna start right here at the 1/2 inch mark, so it's gonna look really wide to you, but don't worry, that's how it's supposed to be. And so we're gonna go around. If you have a needle down function on your machine, this is a great time to use it, because you're going to want to stop and pivot as you sew that big wide seam. So let me pivot that around. And you're just going to want to keep that seam kind of consistent, but it's a 1/2 inch seam so that it lays nice and flat when you turn it and top stitch it. Remember, you're using a big needle here. Your big needle is going to help you maneuver all of the bulk. Okay, I'm going to get to this spot and I'm going to stop, and I'm also going to pivot. And I'm going to try to keep that seam as consistent as possible, but if it's not perfect, I'm not going to stress about it either, because quilting should be fun. This should not be an excessively stressful activity, and neither should sewing. So sewing and quilting should be relaxing. If you notice, I'm just letting my hand kind of guide everything. Now, if you do not have a walking foot and you have a regular foot, you're just going to have to go really slow so that you don't bend or break a needle, because you are going through a lot of thick fabric. But if you have a top stitch needle, that should help the situation. And just stop and lift your presser foot like I did, and that helps a lot. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Now I'm going to come around really quick. And I'm just letting my hand kind of guide it. And now I'm going to stop and kind of pivot right there. And you're just going to take your presser foot and you're going to lift it to make those curves. And then you're going to come down the straightaway. All right. That's all you need to do here. And then you're going to pivot this last section. And you're going to stop at the spot. And if you want to backstitch, you can right here, just to kind of secure that spot. And what I'm not going to do is break my thread because I'm not wearing my glasses. And if I have to thread my stuff again without my glasses, it's not going to be pretty. All right, so I'm just going to use a little piece of fabric to do that for me. All right, so let's get pressing. That's the next step. So you're going to take this thing, now that you have it, and I'm going to cut a few little incisions in it. So I'm going to take this corner, and I'm going to use my scissor, and I'm going to come in as close to that thread as possible without breaking it. So maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Do you see that? And I'm going to reduce the bulk in that corner like this. Because when I turn that, I don't want there to be a bunch of bulk in that corner. Same thing here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to get rid of the bulk because what I don't want is a big bumpy corner. Now you're going to have to trim the corners. If you notice, this is kind of messy, so I'm just going to trim these a little bit. And then now I'm going to clip my curves. So I'm going to clip my curves like this. So I'm going to make little notches. If you have pinking shears, you can use pinking shears for this. But I just like to clip the notches like this, and that does exactly what Mrs. Windsor taught me to do in Whittier High School in the 80s. So back when they had home economics, right? She was my sewing teacher. She was nice. And so clip your little corners, and you're going to do the same thing to these curves over here. If you want to cut a few notches, you can, but I'm just clipping out all those bits. And that'll just help it to lay flat when you get ready to do the next step. Anybody else learn to cut little notches in home economics? Who was your home ec teacher? Or did you learn at home? I had a wonderful neighbor. Her name was Miss Jenny Sanders. She has passed on, and she was a delightful lady from Texas. And she taught me all of the things I know about quilting. So she was my quilt mentor. All right. There I have it, clipped my corners, clipped these corners, and I'm ready to go. All right, so now that I have this opening, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to snip away this corner like this to keep it from being bulky. So this corner gets snipped on the outside, this one got snipped on the inside, and now I'm ready to go. And I'm going to use like a little chopstick or anything you want to turn that inside out. So I'm just going to stick my finger in there. I had two wonderful home economics teachers, Miss Windsor and Miss Robertson, and they were my favorite people in the whole wide world because those were my favorite classes in high school. I'm a high school teacher now, and I indulge kids in all kinds of hobbies. I stay after school and I let them sew on my vintage sewing machines, and I do all kinds of things. If they want to be creative, I let them be creative because I think kids need that. They need an outlet for their stress, and sewing and crafting is one of those things that just makes the world a happier place, right? All right, so now that you see how it's kind of bushy right here and lumpy, I'm going to take something like the back of a... So you have like, this is a crochet hook that has a rounded end. That works great. And so you can take the crochet hook on this side, either one, or the rounded side. And I'm going to push that seam like this with the crochet hook, because what I'm doing is I'm going to try to flatten that out. So I can either use the hook end or the flat end. And I'm just going to push that seam way out. And once it's pushed out completely, then I'm going to give it a press. I'm going to hold my hot iron there. Oh, you learned to sew on your grandma's sewing machine. Yeah, if you remember your home economics teacher, then you probably had good experiences Not everybody has good experiences in school. I mean, that's a reality. Like in every profession, we have some amazing humans, and then we have some people that are not as amazing as they could be. So that's true of every profession, though. I mean, you have doctors and lawyers and engineers and teachers and bus drivers, and you have people in every profession. You have some people who really, really love their job, and you have some people who don't. So hopefully you had some teachers who loved their job. I love my job. All right. So let's press that. You're going to press that shut. I'm going to fold this to the inside. It will naturally want to go to the inside anyway as you press and you're pushing. But yeah, I'm very lucky. I found someone on Facebook Marketplace that was selling several vintage machines, and so I have a total of 10 vintage machines that I keep at school, and I let kids sew on them. All right, so now I have it pressed on one side, and I have it pressed on the other, and I'm going to make sure that these two edges are even, right? Because I want those to be even. Now, if I wanted to, I could sew those closed by hand, but you don't have to, because in the next step, I'm going to show you how to do it all at the same time. But just play with it so that it's nice and smooth and flat, and it covers itself like this. All right, so now I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to top stitch about 1/4 inch away from this edge. If you want it to be smaller or closer to the edge, you can. I put a red bobbin when I top stitched this, and then a brown top. So if you want to be picky about the color that you use, you can put different colors in your bobbin and in your top stitch. But this one, I'm just going to do it with green, like an olive green, because I think that goes well with the owls. And so this can be stitched together like this, or it can be stitched together like this. Either way, I did mine with this outside flap like this, because when you close this wallet completely, this has a nice deep side pocket, and you can take a credit card or a driver's license and slip it in and out of there. So if this is snug enough like this with your snap, you can actually take your credit cards and slip them in that side pocket, and you can pull them out easily like this. And they're pretty secure because they're in there pretty deep. So you can use that to slide your cards out easily. Now, if you don't want your cards to slide easily, then guess what? You can always sew that shut, and you can put your cards on the inside. There's room for you to use this either or. So you can sew it on this side like this, and have a slot for those, and then a separate slot for your money. Or you could simply do it like I'm doing it, because I want my cards like this, and I want to be able to take those little gaming cards and pull them out. Okay, so you decide what you want to do. All right, so this is the next step. So now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew all the way around, not across the bottom, because I'm going to sew that shut when I put the wallet together. So I'm just going to sew the sides, just like I did the first time, really quick, with a top stitch. And like I said, I'm using a top stitch needle. So let's go back over here to the camera so you can see. Like I said, I didn't want to thread my machine tonight because, heavens to Betsy, we don't need that. All right, so I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to do like a little 1/4 inch seam. If you want to do a smaller seam, you can, but I'm going to back it up. I'm going to back stitch once, and then I'm going to go all the way around. If you want it to be skinny, you can make it skinny. If you want it to be bigger, you can make it bigger. But it has plenty of fabric so that you can secure that edge and it'll lay flat. And that's why we did a 1/2 inch seam, because you want that to be flat, flat, flat. So I'm going to stop and pivot, same as before. You don't even have to break your thread. You just go around. This is much, much easier with a walking foot. So if your machine doesn't have one, but you have the ability to reduce the tension on your presser foot, the pressure, then that's going to help you to get this done. All right, so now I'm going to come here, and I'm going to go right off the edge, and I'm going to sew a little scrap piece on there, like I said, again, so that I don't have to mess with threading this machine again. So just a little leader and ender. I'm just going to leave it like that. All right, so there I have it. Now I'm ready for the next step. And so now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to either use a little bit of Elmer's glue, or you can press it with your finger, it doesn't matter. And you're going to make sure that those edges are secured. And so you're going to want to press the heck out of them like this. And then you're going to take your wallet and you're going to decide which side you want to the inside. I want this side. You're going to line it up with this edge, and then you're going to line it up with this edge, and it should fit perfectly just like this. And then we're going to sew across the bottom. You can, if your machine is not a heavy duty machine, or you don't have a walking foot, you could always close this by hand, and you could even do a decorative stitch if you wanted to, like a little blanket stitch. Oh, Kathy, they don't offer home economics. We have life skills classes. We have a variety of electives, and we have a ton of clubs. And so we have like sewing club and crafting club, and we have a lot of things at school that they used to not offer for a while, but now they're offering them again. A lot of schools now have culinary. So it used to be called home ec, now it's called culinary. All right, so now that it's done, right? Looks like this. This little owl is peeping this way, and that's fine. In this one, I was more fussy about it, and I put the owl's face this way. But those little owls peeping upside down, they work. And that's just how that one landed. But now I'm going to sew across the bottom like this, and I might sew up the edges just a hair. But I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to give it a little click so you can see what I'm doing. And this is where you're going to want to slow it down. So if you do not slow it down, you could break a needle because you're sewing through lots of layers. So you're going to sew as close as possible to that edge right here that's open. So I'm going to go really close, maybe like an 1/8 of an inch away from that edge. And when I start it, I'm going to drop my needle in by hand. So I'm turning, I'm not using my foot pedal. I'm turning my needle by hand because I don't want that needle to break. So I'm going to get it started, then I'm going to back stitch once, and then I'm going to come forward. And you're going to want to be really slow and really close to that edge. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to stop right there. And if I want to, I can come up the side just like this. If I want to close this one off. I'm going to stop right there. And I'm going to flip it around if you want to close your edges. And I'm going to come back and back stitch it again, and that'll just make sure that your little wallet is super secure and that it'll last through washings and wearings and all kinds of stuff. So just make sure that you're coming back exactly, you're trailing back where you stitched. And so I'm lining up the stitches in with that needle as the needle goes down so that I will land with in the same spot I stitched the first time. So then I'm going to come here. I'm going to slow way down. I have a presser foot that has a rheostat, which means it allows me to control the speed with my foot, which is nice. Now the machine that I prefer to use is the one I'm using today. Her name is Bertha. And her name is Bertha because she's the birth mother of lots of projects. And so Bertha's a heavy-duty lady. And she wasn't super expensive in the U.S. Right now you can probably get a hold of Bertha for about $900. I know that seems like a lot, but she does everything. And she came with all of the feet that you need to do all of your sewing. And I don't sell these guys, but if you can get a hold of one that's in good condition, they are great little workhorses. I bought mine at a local Brother dealership, and they are great. But I don't know if they still have them. All right. Did I accidentally? Oh, yeah. Now I have to thread my needle. Great. The bane of my existence. I'm going to have to wear my glasses. All right. So now, friends, ta-da! Your little wallet's done, right? Now it has the little flap, and the flap fits perfectly. And now if you want, you can put a button on here. So if you wanted to put a button, you know, one of those little frog closures, you could. If you wanted to put Velcro on this little wallet, you could put Velcro on this wallet. Or you could do snaps. I'm going to use these little sew-on snaps because they're just easy. And how these work is you take this little snap part here and you sew it where you want it. And then you sew this one on the opposite side. And then that's all you've got to do. You got to sew these on by hand. So if you see these little guys, they have like 4 little holes. And you just take some embroidery floss and you sew those in place and they will hold up. This is 4 layers of fabric because it's 2 of interfacing to a fabric. So that works great. But if you wanted to strengthen this, you could always applique like a little heart inside there. If you wanted to just strengthen that so that your little snap holds up from snipping it over time. But there you go. This is how you make the little groovy wallet. I'm just going to give that one a press. And I will show you the measurements. This one is the same way, except it doesn't have all the extra flaps. It's literally just one piece and you fold it over itself and you sew the edges. So I'm going to give you the measurements for this little thing and then we'll be done for the night. So let me show you how I made this one. Okay. So the big wallet is done and the baby wallet that fits inside this wallet fits right in there. Actually fits better in this one. So if it fits right in there, let me show you how to make that. Oh, it fits better because the flaps are not sewn together. That's why. Ta-da! So this one is sewn together, and so now my credit cards are going to fit in there better. So if you sew the sides, remember it makes it smaller. If you don't sew the sides, then you can put this one inside it. Okay? All right, so now let me show you how to make this little guy. Super fast. This one's even faster and easier than the other one. So for this little thing right here, the only thing I used was my ruler. I have my Creative Grids ruler that is 4.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches wide, and I cut my piece of fabric. I cut it 4.5 wide by 7.5. If you want your little flap to come down all the way to this edge and be even, then you can leave the full length. And let me show you really quick how to make that, and it's super fast. You won't even... You'll be like, wow, that was quick. So you can take this, take some of this Frankenstein fabric I have here, and you're gonna lay another piece of fabric on top that you're gonna use. So this one could be another little polka dotty fabric, and I'm just literally gonna lay this on top of this. I want to line it up with one of the edges. This fits this way, so I might just do another piece like that. And so I simply line these up. You can rotary cut this one, no problem. Just going to lay that ruler right on here. I do 2 of my edges. Like that. And then I'm going to have to notch this one. Do not cut towards your body. Super dangerous. Do not do dangerous things with your rotary cutter. Take the time to stop, flip it around, and cut it the other way. Do not chop your finger like I did mine in the spring. And so now I'm just going to lay this on here, my bit of Frankenstein stuff. And I'm going to lay it down here. And I'm going to trim. Look at this. No pattern required. This gets interfaced. If you want to interface the full length, you can. If you want to interface one side, you can. You don't have to. You can use your scrap bits of interfacing and just stick it in the middle and leave some of this flap uninterfaced so that it'll make it softer when you pull it over. But you can use those little bits of leftover interfacing just like this. And I'm going to go ahead and interface it really quick, and you'll see how fast the second one is made. So that's the little tiny baby wallet, and the little baby wallet holds credit cards. So if you wanted literally just a driver's license and some credit cards, that's it. So spritz that. Remember, bumpy side down, not up. And look at how well that sticks. You don't have to interface all the way to the outsides. I just want to give it some structure. This is really thick fabric anyway. It's a batik, so it's fine. This one I'm going to interface the entire thing because it's a quilting cotton that's kind of thin. So I'm just going to go like this. Spritz that thing so that it's nice and flat. Check my bumpy, make sure it's up and not down so that I don't have a catastrophic situation on my mat. All right, now I'm going to have to pick a side. Doesn't matter, left or right. And I'm going to trim off the corners. I'm going to take a little handy dandy super high-tech tool, and I'm just going to mark those corners like that with my high-tech spool right here. And I'm going to lay these together, and I'm going to trim that edge. So I'm just going to take this, and I could actually do right sides together, and I'm just going to trim that off. So I'm just going to round that corner like this. And these are my paper scissors. It's like, why is that not cutting? And the same with the other side. You're just going to round it off. And now you can put these pretty sides together. Get rid of all that excess at the bottom. They don't even have to be pretty. You're going to pin it. You can leave that excess interfacing hanging out for a minute. I'm going to trim that off. I'm going to sew, see the curvy side up here? I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way around. I'm going to leave this open on the bottom. So this is pretty side to pretty side. I'm going to sew one seam all the way around, a 1/4 inch away. Let me show you this one. Super easy. Come on over here, and now I need my glasses so I can thread this machine, because remember, my machines and I are not friends. All right. There we go. Slip out of there. Can I do it the first try? Oh, I did it the first try. And the crowd goes wild. I did it. All right, so 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to back stitch at that opening. Ah, and why does this thread keep getting stuck? I'm going to raise this. Always when you're live, the thread breaks, right? So for all of you who watch those other fancy quilting channels, they edit all this stuff out. They don't sit there and show you how they struggle with their thread. But in real life, we do this, don't we? We struggle with our thread. just pull it out? I just pulled it out. You know what? It helps when you don't have 5,000 lights on top of you. There it goes. Come on. A little lick goes a long way, huh? Maybe my goal for 2024 is to learn to use my needle threader. What do you guys think? You know how people have those bucket lists of things that they wanted to learn how to do? Maybe mine's going to be learn how to use my needle threader so I don't drive everybody crazy online. Maybe not. All right, so let's put that down and let's get started. Goodness. There we go. All right. Let me leave a big tail there. All right, friends, and let's look at what we have here. Almost done with Little Wallet 2. Like I said, you don't have to have interfacing completely on the inside piece because this time that's going to go on the inside. And just like before, we're going to snip these little corners just so that they lay flat. It's easier when you have a 1/2 inch seam, let me tell you. When you have these little baby 1/4 inch seams, don't snip your threads. Do not. All right. So now you're going to come in, stick your fingers in there, poke it out with that crochet hook. Get it all in there. B, I'm the same way. I do not know how to use all these needles. This needle threader is not broken. The one on my other sewing machine is broken. I used to know how to use it, but this one is not broken, and I have yet to figure out how to use that needle threader. It's so confusing. I was like, you know what? I could probably do calculations to take a rocket to the moon before I could figure out this needle threader. Oh my goodness. All right, so now that I have it, I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip it to the inside. You're going to want to take your seam and you're going to want to just flip it to one side. It doesn't matter which side. And you're going to close it just like you did before. You're going to roll it to the inside and you're going to push a pin about a 1/2 inch is good. You're going to want to get those corners nice and flat. So pin it down. This is my Frankenstein fabric. Look at all those pieces in there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like 10 pieces of fabric in this little wallet. All right, so now I'm going to take this side, and now it's flat. And now I can literally just press this little guy down. If I want to, I can spritz a little bit of water. Whenever you're working with a garment or something like this, water is your friend. When you're quilting, water is not your friend. But when you're pressing and sewing, actually a slightly damp fabric will allow you to kind of manipulate it a little bit better. So I tend to use water when I'm making bags, totes, pot holders, mug rugs. I tend to use a little bit more steam than I do when I'm actually quilting blocks because I don't want to distort my blocks. But these are interfaced so they don't get distorted. All right. All right, so now that I have my little wallet, this wallet can go either way. I can make a wallet this way, and this is like a 2.5 inch. So you can take your credit card. So this is like 2.5 inches right here, and then you're going to sew it on the sides and then bring the flap down. Or you can make it a little bit higher and make your wallet a little bit deeper if you want like 2 3/4 of an inch, and then bring your flap down. But either way, so this one, the slightly longer one, so this one was 8.5 inches by 4.5. This one was 7.5 by 4.5. So if you want your wallet to be kind of small, or you want your wallet to be a little bit bigger, you can play with that and get a wallet that works for you. I can now sew this closed, and now this holds just enough room for my little wallets from Disney World or wherever you want to go. If you want to give these as a gift, this will hold up to 3 cards like this. Then you fold them. You can even tie this with a ribbon and give it as a gift. All right, friends, this is it. This is how I make my little wallets. You play with your little wallets. If you do not have a printer, don't panic. You can make your own pattern. Super easy. I showed you how. You can make probably 2 or 3 of these little guys in under an hour. So if you want a quick gift, or if you want to do something charitable, you can make yourself a little stack of little wallets. And there you have it, friends. That's a wrap. If you have any questions, don't forget to put them in the chat. Give it a thumbs up. Tell your friends about my channel. I appreciate all of your support. You guys are wonderful people, and I just love having you guys online. I will see you next week. I thought I was doing Plant Lady today, but apparently my schedule is off. So Plant Lady is next Sunday. That's the next time I'm on. And we have some other little things coming up. So don't forget to check in the community tab of the YouTube channel, or you can always look for the things that I post in the Facebook group or the Facebook page. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. I hope that I didn't confuse you, and I hope that you make yourself a stack of cute little wallets to give to somebody or just to use for yourself. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. It's time to get to work for me. I've got school on Monday. All right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.